We have looked to the stars. We have searched our souls. But the answers seldom satisfy for long. We are able to cure, to treat, to extend life, even to create life. While we are not perfect,
we shall fight on the beaches, we shall fight on the landing grounds, we shall never surrender.
I have a dream.
We endeavor to better ourselves.
That all men are created equal.
And now we have surely arrived at the golden age of technology. But our journey still continues.
Hello from the children of planet Earth.
Hola y saludos a todos. Shalom.
We are human beings, and we have risen above all others to become the dominant species on planet Earth. Never before have we appeared to be stronger, more powerful, and more in control. Why is it then that at this moment in time, our species has never been sicker?
We think we're at the pinnacle of our existence, and yet the reality is we've never been sicker.
We have been facing a rising epidemic of plagues, from asthma to obesity to allergic diseases.
And it's going to get worse.
Tomorrow's generation really is on the edge of the precipice.
We're bankrupting ourselves.
The cost would reach a staggering $47 trillion US.
That's not sustainable. We're hitting the wall right now.
Let's say you have 10 diseases that are rising at the same time. Perhaps there's one thing that's fueling them all. Our ancient microbiome, which protected us against many diseases, is degrading.
We estimate we have lost about a third of the diversity of our microbes.
If we miss the window at birth, then the immune system never matures correctly.
If you upset this process in the early life, then we may have consequences later.
And that can lead to production of disease later in life.
I think we're in the midst of the largest experiment in human history.
Humanity is heading for a huge health crisis.
The worst case scenario is in fact really terrible. We have to alert the public.
I don't think we're too late, but we're definitely not too early either.
Turn the microscope on birth. It's a really important part of a human being's life.
We can make a significant impact on health for all mankind.
If how we're born affects our chances of long-term health, we need to seize this opportunity to actually turn the course of human health.
If we don't take the bigger perspective, how do we know that we're not altering the course of humanity?
I get lost in you like a prisoner walking towards the ocean. It's hard to imagine how something could swallow you whole. Yeah, I get lost in you. Pearls in your eyes keep me alive, wrap me up in a glow, soft as a shadow. There was a time I would suffer in silence and feel like my pain didn't matter. I thought, keep on walking, just show your devotion. They don't know you at all. When I grew thorns as sharp as spears, and I drowned my fears with books and with beer. At a time there was time but no horizon. Yeah, I am lost in you. I am no longer searching, I'm no longer yearning, just learning the freedom of floating on.
俾我俾我乜嘢啊？食係啊，俾一江人食，你話食糖係啊，俾你糖係啊，咁嗰個俾你講謝謝係喎，個叻仔 ，OK 好啦，好嘢叻仔，抌垃圾桶係喎，好啦，同一嗰部開燈，同一嗰部開燈係喎，睇個燈掣喺邊度喎？夠唔夠高？夠唔夠高？1、2、3，喂，幫我開燈。咦，未得，開好啲。OK， 好，我哋嚟嗰度，喺嗰度 attention， 嚟呢度，attention， 唔係咁樣先，望住一個筆先 ，attention， 一手握手先，握手，做個好朋友 ，give me five，give me ten，兩隻手先，呢度啊，企定先，兩隻手 ，ten， 拜拜，好，北，食我先 ，OK， 好啦，同媽媽。
讓愛心裏漫着光輝照。
It's becoming more and more difficult to ignore the mountain of science that is suggesting that the current model is largely obsolete apart from emergency management. And so what we have done is take emergency management and apply it to chronic care, and this is why half of Americans are taking prescriptions and still feeling unwell. What I like to, imagine is happening is that there's a grassroots interest in a very different type of medicine, and this interest will drive and attract healers and clinicians and doctors who can provide the type of healing relationship that people are asking for, which is, please look at me as a whole human in my entire life, relating to other humans and the environment and my own lifestyle. Experience me holistically so that you can help me personally.
Is this gonna last forever? She said, forever, mama. She said, forever. She said. Women say forever. She finally we step on the cinder, purely made of our past. Now it's time you reconsider.
everything that's important about life as a human being, you learn in context of relationships.
We need somebody that we can trust, that we can hold on to, who walks with us hand in hand through the whole deal.
Early in life, many of these connections in the brain, what are called synapses, develop based on genetics, but also based on how experiences occur.
The research on the brain has for the first time given us biological, physical proof that interactional processes that don't go well, for example, impact the brain profoundly.
If the brainstem, for whatever reason, has some insult during development, it could be alcohol exposure in utero, it could be cigarette smoking, it could be prenatal exposure to drug, or it could be significant distress in the caregiver. For whatever reason, if the brainstem is poorly organized and overreactive and dysynchronous, the baby's born, and very often they will have what we call a state regulation problem. They are hard to soothe, you can't quiet them down very well, it's hard to engage them, and it makes the caregivers feel overwhelmed. They can't calm the child down very well, the child stays all stirred up.
When a pregnant mother is under constant stress, she might just be stressed at the office. So we're seeing babies being born that are hyperreactive.
Most important pivotal experience in a child's life is that a caregiver and a child have a falling in love experience. And that experience of joy is invigorating to the body on all fronts, and is essential to being able to develop the capacity to care, to be able to develop the capacity to love, and to have empathy for other human beings, and to be able to have moral conscience.
We are neurobiologically designed to be in relationships. We are neurobiologically designed to be able to read and respond to other people, and we're neurobiologically designed to reach out and seek relationships with other people. And when we have these opportunities to form healthy relationships with family, with neighbors, with coworkers, with members of the community, we're healthy. And when we don't have those opportunities, we literally are physiologically at risk.
First stress response is a hypersensitive, hyperreactive stress response. And these infants cry a lot, are inconsolable. When they become toddlers, they may go into rapid temper tantrums and be very volatile. A second stress response are infants who are hypervigilant. These infants will have very wide eyes and will be very vigilantly looking, and you can see that there's an anxiety in their muscle tone and in how they carry themselves, and that they're scanning the environment. A toddler may be overly clingy or overly withdrawn. A third stress response would be very shut down and tuned out. These children, again, may be misunderstood as a good, easy baby.
Most teachers, most educators at this point still don't recognize those kids, and they often become as problematic or more problematic than the more obviously upset kid.
When an attachment figure is the source of terror, the child's brain has two processes going on at once. One is the inborn attachment system, which says, I'm in a state of alarm, I need to go to my attachment figure for soothing. But if that attachment figure is the source of the distress, and I don't just mean being upset and you don't get ice cream before dinner, I mean terror, then what happens is the child will then try another track in the child's brain will state, do not go toward that figure, that's the cause of your distress.
People who are traumatized are stressed, and the stress doesn't go away. The symptoms don't go away. They persist in one way or another, either as a psychological problem or as a learning problem or as perhaps a physical problem in the body. For years and years and years, they never disappear. They come, they go, but they're always back again. That's trauma. That's stress at the level of trauma.
trauma is like a dog bite.
We look at the whole person, we look at their whole history, and we look at their development. We look at what's happened in their body, in their life, in their social structure. We look at all the aspects of their life, and then we determine where to go from there.
First of all, we have to get our children and our infants back into a condition of safety. That may be that they need contact with a safe relationship, that maybe they have had a disruption and they need to maybe not go to school that day and spend time with mommy. And one of the ways we help infants and children regain a sense of safety is to start to become what I call a sensory detective. We need to start becoming really aware of what sensations are reminders of that traumatic event. And they could be sounds, they could be tastes, they could be something visual, they could be a particular movement, a particular touch. We want to be very clear that we give the right dose that the child or infant can handle. So it's going to have to be very small increments of helping them be able to experience that sensation, recover from that sensation. And the fourth is to increase the child's surround of sensory comfort so that beyond the caregiver, there can be many arenas of sensory comfort that the child or infant can surround themselves with, whether it's music or a particular touch of a blanket or a particular toy that they hold that they feel safe with.
Is that what's shareable is bearable. And so when a person can bring it out and share it with another, then it becomes more bearable than keeping it to yourself. But studies of resilience show that even when children have insecure attachments in the home, if they've had at least one secure attachment with a daycare provider, a preschool teacher, or another adult in their lives, then that makes a huge difference for them having the seed of resilience. They may still have difficulties, but because they've had that one secure relationship, that relationship where they felt that another individual, another adult knows them and feels what's going on inside of them, those kids have the potential.
What makes children get better following a trauma is connection to other human beings who are present, who are patient, who are kind, who are sensitive, and they don't need to be necessarily psychologically insightful. They don't need to know anything about trauma. All they need to know is that they're right there with this child. They're trying to be comforting, they're trying to be supportive, they're trying to encourage. Those kinds of interactions end up being much more therapeutic and healing than many of the other things that we try to do with kids.
Teachers can look more at their children, be more emotionally present for children.
If you're an adult and there are children in your life, whether you're in law enforcement, a teacher, a parent, a foster parent, whatever you are, and you know that a child has been exposed to something that's potentially traumatic, the first thing that you should be aware of is that not all traumatic events lead to disastrous mental health outcomes. In fact, the vast majority of children that are traumatized actually do pretty well, but they do need your attention, they do need your kind support, and they do need your awareness about what are warning signs that would tell you to actually take the next step and try to get some professional help.
One place I would like to start with individuals as well as our society trying to make a difference to really stop the cross-generational passage of trauma and of insecure attachment. It would be for parents to start a process of self-understanding. It basically costs nothing except the time and emotion that it takes for parents to begin on that process. And we all can do it. And the people who benefit most, besides ourselves, are our children.
We're spending literally 95% of our public dollars to change the brain, because that's what mental health is. And we're spending almost nothing in the first 5 years of life when the brain is easiest to modify, and it takes the least amount of professional input, the least amount of insight. It takes just high-quality caregiving.
So I'm a retired doctor now. I don't work as a doctor anymore. I did work for 20 years in family practice. 7 years I was coordinator of the palliative care unit looking after terminally ill people in Vancouver Hospital, and for 12 years I worked in Vancouver's downtown east side looking after people with severe addictions to cocaine, to crystal meth, to opiates like heroin, to alcohol, of course, people dying of HIV, of hepatitis C, and every other disease. Virtually everything I ever saw, whether it was cancer, whether it was multiple sclerosis, whether it was depression, whether it was addiction, whether it was ADHD, whether it was colitis, rheumatoid arthritis, you know what it came down to? It came down to what happens in people's childhoods. In other words, the major contributor, I don't say the only, but the major contributing factor to the onset of illness, whether it's mental illness, physical illness, whether it's addiction, whether it's behavior problems, what happens to people in the first few years of life. So it's not ever the genes that cause the addictions, and nobody ever chooses the addiction. What actually happens is when people are traumatized, that increases their risk of addiction. And let's just define an addiction. An addiction is any behavior, substance related or not, that an individual pursues because they find pleasure, relief, or they crave it temporarily, so they pursue it for the pleasure and the relief despite negative consequences, and they don't give it up in the face of negative consequences. I said any behavior, so that could be sex, gambling, eating, shopping, work, relationships, or substances. And if you ask yourself, by that definition, have you ever had an addictive pattern in your life? Addiction is never the primary problem. The addiction is always an attempt on the individual's part to solve a problem. The problem is, why am I having so much emotional pain? And how come I don't know how to deal with emotional pain? Why is there so much stress in my life? And how is it that I can't regulate my stresses without an addictive expression? The problem arose because early in childhood, you were somehow hurt. A child is yelled at, or beaten, or sexually abused, or told to go to their room when their parents don't like their behavior. Or the parents are just depressed, or unhappy, or stressed, traumatized in their own life. The child thinks, these bad things are happening because I'm a bad person. So then you have low self-esteem. That's the first thing that happens. The second thing that happens is that the circuits of the brain are actually shaped by early experiences, so that what's happening to the mother is already affecting the brain circuitry of the child. And these people that are traumatized in childhood, they don't have the conditions for healthy brain development. And then they're going to have mental health problems. And they're going to have ways of compensating for those mental health problems through addictive behaviors. It begins with childhood issues. Well, how can cancer begin with childhood issues, you ask yourself? A Canadian study showed that when children are abused, when they grow up to be adults, the risk of cancer goes up nearly 50%. Why? Because the abuse or the trauma creates coping mechanisms. Now, one of the ways that we cope when children are traumatized, one of the ways they cope with it is to soothe themselves, and then that's where addictions come in. But another way to cope would be is if you get the message that you're not good enough, that you are not worthy enough, then you might spend the rest of your life trying to prove that you are. And how do you do that? By being very nice to everybody. By never saying how you feel, because they might not like how you feel. By never expressing healthy anger when somebody's crossing your boundaries. By working too hard to prove that you're worthwhile. And those stresses have an impact on your physiology. They have an impact on your immune system. They have an impact on your cardiovascular system, on your heart, on your nervous system, they can cause disease. So typically, people with autoimmune diseases like rheumatoid arthritis or multiple sclerosis or colitis or Crohn's disease, or for that matter, cancer, if you look at their lives, what you notice about them is they've had great difficulty expressing their emotions because in childhood they were forbidden from doing so. So they compensated by suppressing their feelings, and they have great difficulty saying no, so that when people ask them to do things, they automatically will say yes, and they'll keep doing things even though they're very stressed by it. And then you end up with the body saying no, because they didn't, in the form of illness. What I can tell you, that is absolutely scientifically unquestionable, is that you cannot separate the mind from the body, because the brain systems that regulate emotions are part and parcel of the same system that the immune system is a part of, the cardiovascular system is a part of, the nervous system is a part of, and the hormonal apparatus is all part of it as well. So you can also not separate people's physiology from their relationships. Looking at the increasing rate of asthma in North America these days, and allergies of all kinds, or the increasing rate of ADHD and depression and all that amongst kids, what's going on? What's going on is that the parents are getting more stressed, and therefore the kids are getting more stressed, and therefore the kids are getting more sick. And it's not a question of the parents not loving their kids, it's not a question of blaming parents, it's not a question of parents. So human relationships are actually necessary to maintain healthy human life. The first few years are so important. And if you as an adult are suffering from depression, anxiety, addiction, illness, or whatever, go back to your childhood and find out how you were hurt and heal that hurt, and then you can heal yourself. Thank you.
河流来充满我，生命泉源来浇灌我，有你同行，不再惧怕，无论何处，紧紧跟随。
呢個係個今嗰個開口。如果肢體要活動㗎，即係話咁樣係開，咁樣係合。上面活動嘅方向，我哋可以細分到嘅。我哋雙手就係我哋嘅 healing hand， 就係我哋嘅儀器。腳髀啦，即係大魚啦個位啦，一係就喺側邊啦，太陽輪。咁即係話有呢一啲嘅不適，或者有啲膝頭哥嘅不適，有腳踭嘅不適，腳板底嘅不適，咁我哋都係要處理喺個腳嘅足站裏邊咧，做一啲手法去處理。慢鏡頭，攞呢張凳，所以有碌咧就好啲。擺啱個位，呢隻手咧就黐住，呢隻手慢慢兜落去，完成捧呢個頭，抱翻住。如果頭先佢呢啲就可能壓住到嘅腦神經啦，因為我哋有12對腦神經啦。其中有啲神經線都係供應我哋面部嘅肌肉啦，等於頭先阿賢問面癱都係第7對嘅神經線啦。佢嗰個出口其實都喺耳仔後邊嘅。咁而家阿 Andy 嘅反應咧，都大機會咧係嗰個神經線嘅反射嘅釋放咯。咁盧脊軒其實就係一個全隻嘅鬆弛嘅釋放啦，咁落到去唔同嘅節段，唔同嘅神經嘅壓迫都有唔同嘅釋放啦。醉夢啦，佢有醉夢啊，佢嗰次嘅醉夢就咁樣。不過佢醒翻嚟唔知係6個鐘頭之後，咁就好彩佢前仆啫，佢就當瞓唔覺咯。咁但係嗰個質素就瞓得好好啦。